Scott back at the project garden. I've been on vacation, went up to Starvation Reservoir in Utah for 4 days and had a good time. It was awfully hot and awfully windy. We came back and I needed to check on the garden today because it's been 5 or 6 days since I've been here, and it's been hot. It's been over 100 degrees for the last week, and it's probably 102, 103 today. So I've already done a little weeding, and I did some mulching with some grass clippings. I need to start getting the ground covered up. That's one thing I miss in a first year garden, is I don't have a lot of mulch and things like that. So this fall we'll definitely be mulching everything. But right now the only thing I have until the leaves fall is grass clippings. So we're gonna use those as we go. Just make sure you never have any pesticides or weed killer in the grass clippings. You got to make sure of that. If you just use a standard fertilizer without any weed killer, you'll be okay if you use those grass clippings. Anyway, just wanted to show you a couple of vegetables that were pretty impressive today, and I'm going to show you the garden and give you the tour of the garden. But those are some turnips. They snuck up on me. I didn't even realize that they were a couple that were that big. Now the rest of them aren't that big, but that was kind of a nice surprise to see those today. And then we've got a red onion and a Walla Walla onion. Those are pretty good onions. Okay, still got time to grow, but the Walla Wallas are getting to be really good. And the whole row of Walla Wallas is about, not quite all this size, but they're getting there. Now, just to update some other things, the radishes are done. It's getting way too hot. All of our brassicas and cauliflower and things are still hanging in there. A lot of them have already went to seed because it's just getting too hot. We didn't get them in the ground quick enough, and that's because the garden was just getting started. So it is what it is. But the carrots are coming on. The beets look like they're getting eaten up by some quail. The tops are getting eaten. The potatoes are flowering. The tomatoes are growing with a few tomatoes on there. The corn's up pretty good, about maybe 8-10 inches tall. And everything else is looking really green. There's some strawberries on the vine also. So I've called the homeowner today to get out in the garden and start picking and eating, because stuff's going to start going bad if we don't get it eaten. So anyway, let's go take a look at the garden and see the progress. Thank you. Well, we'll start the garden tour from the opposite side as we usually do. We're looking at the tomatoes first, and they're getting a little bit of shade from the bushes behind them, but they get quite a bit of full sun. They're coming on. It's going to take a little while. Probably won't have any tomatoes until the middle of July, but they're doing good. And you see in front of the tomatoes is peppers, and they're a little wilted. So I watered them in today. Hopefully they'll perk back up, but it is so dang hot. A lot of times tomatoes will blossom and rot if the water is not consistent, and they'll drop flowers when it gets this hot. Now here's the strawberry bed. As you can start seeing some little red in the middle of this one, and there's the bunches of strawberries that were hiding. When I was pulling some weeds, I uncovered all these. So I told the homeowner, come get these and get them eaten up. They're looking really tasty. I had to try a few of them, and they're a very sweet variety. But they're doing well. But there's lots of weeds I still got to pull. Now we're swinging around. Here's the potatoes. Nice and big. They're flowering, looking pretty good. Haven't dug down to see if there's any new potatoes, but I'll just leave them for a while. Now here's the turnip area where I just pulled those two big turnips out of. And then they're going to go right. The beets are to the left of there, and they're kind of, like I say, the tops are eaten up, it looks like. I did see some quail today, so I think they've been over here munching. Either that or the sun's just been beating the heck out of them. But there's a lot of green beans that have come up on the right. There's some potato flowers. And we're starting to swing around to look at the beans again, and the beets that are looking a little hammered. And as we turn the corner, there's the carrot bed. And I did dig down a little bit and look at some carrots. And there are some that are worth pulling, but I'm not going to pull any today. There's peppers on the left side of the carrots, and then there's a couple eggplants. You'll see them, they're flowering. And then we've got the red Russian kale, you can see on top. And here we're digging into the eggplant flowers. Panning up the aisle, we've got Swiss chard at the end, and it is pretty sunburned, but there's still some good leaves in there. And you see a little head of broccoli as we're turning the corner. That one's going to seed, so it needs to be eaten today, so the homeowner needs to grab that. Again, we planted them a little late, got too hot, so we're not going to get much in the way of broccoli and cauliflower, but I think the cabbage will still put on some heads. But they're looking pretty healthy overall. Some of it's went to seed. The Brussels sprouts look like they've been eaten up with some bugs, and they've went to seed, so I don't know if we're going to get anything from those. So we're down here at the end of the brassicas, and they're getting bigger anyway. There's some red cabbage you can see there, and I believe those are cauliflower. I don't see, it may have been a cauliflower head. I didn't even notice it, but there might be one there. So panning back over, just taking a look at how things are growing. I did put some grass clippings in the pathways as mulch. Now here's the walla wallas and the other onions, and you can see on the right side the walla wallas are getting pretty good size. They're looking pretty good. The sun was beating on my camera when I was filming this, so it was a little hard to see the screen. So I guess I did okay on filming the onions, but there's quite a few good-sized onions in here. And those are all very, very tasty. Again, walla wallas are a sweet onion. They're not a storage onion, but you can eat them like an apple. They'll still give you the bad breath, but they're not going to give you that really strong onion flavor. They're just tasty. So as we scroll down, we look at some more onions, and then in the middle is yellow onions, and on the other side are the red onions. As I turn the corner, you'll hopefully see those. That's the one I pulled today, not that one. The one I pulled today was this one. I showed you earlier in the video. And coming around, there's some red onions. As you see, they're bulbing up, but they're not nearly as big yet, but they're still growing. They're starting to flower some, and that's not a good sign. When they start doing that, I need to cut those flowers off. Now here's leeks, the little tiny little grass-looking things are starting to grow a little bit. And as you see the corn on the other side. But we have some zucchini. There's a leek. And some corn. There's a cucumber there. And then another variety of cucumbers. And then we have a zucchini squash on the end. We'll see here in just a minute, right there. And then I pan back around and we'll take a look at the corn. And the corn is looking a little bit pretty good. Yeah, actually. The edges are not as nearly as good as the middle, but I think it's a water issue and some weeds have encroached. But I got in there and pulled some weeds today, so hopefully they'll do better. I also had to add some fertility. I added a basic 16-16-16 fertilizer. It's not my desire to use fertilizer, but in the first year garden, I need to do what I need to do to get a harvest this year. And I'll bring in more manures and more compost, leaves, and we'll just, hopefully next year we won't have to use any non-organic fertilizer. But the corn's looking good. I did plant 2 seeds per hole, and I'm just going to leave them like that. I was going to cut one of the 2, but I'm just going to leave them and see how they do. There's another zucchini plant. And then as we scroll back over, we're back to the tomatoes. So everything's coming around. Do need to trim some bushes back, get rid of some shade, but I think overall during the day, everything gets probably 4 to 8 hours of sunshine, direct light. So I think everything will be fine. But it's doing pretty good for a first-year garden. I can't complain too much. This concludes today's short little update video of the Project Garden number 1. If you like this kind of content, please subscribe to my channel so you can follow my journey in living my best rural life in the city. Thank you for your time.